Hey, what is up guys, Steve here, back to do another video, and today I've got another showcase of a strategy. Today's going to be a showcase of a one base stealth tank strategy. I've got two games to show you all, so these two games are going to be examples of it, and you're going to see just how fun and I think skill intense this sort of tactic is. Now I think it's a good way to warm up. I would do this sort of thing if I'm starting off playing, because it's a lot harder to win with such a thing compared to, say, macroing and going through 2 or 3 war factories. But there is somewhat of a satisfaction to making these strats work with the stealth tanks. I did showcase one game the other week on that map. I think it's called Smash Decision. Yeah, I played versus Phoenix and went for the same tactic, but there are many variants of it, and today I've got 2 more to show. Today I am playing against Rex. This is a pre-recording. I'm actually commentating over this replay. Found a way to record over the game. I'm marked with Kane in this particular match. My opponent will be the Scrin faction. I built an additional engineer because on this map there are 4 tip spikes, 2 per player. And I like to go for a Reckoner after my war factory. I build a tier 2 and then I queue a Reckoner. I put the tip trooper sold off from the op center into the Reckoner, as well as that engineer. The tip trooper to de-garrison the building next to the tip spike, and the engineer obviously to cap it. Saboteurs do have a special ability which I can sabotage the tip spike or any neutral structure. It even works on bridge segments. That will mean if your opponent tries to reclaim the spike with an engineer, the spike will just explode and be destroyed. So that's a great investment. I think it's $50. If it's not $50, then I'll make it that in the next patch, because yeah, it should be seen more. It's niche. I also think it's avoidable in garrisonable structures because there is a fuse timer to it. It takes about a second for it to go off in the garrison, and that means that units have time to exit out of that building. Not sure if that can be interpreted as a bug or if it's deliberately that way, but nonetheless, it's a little bit unfortunate. So I've got this Reckoner here. He's just moving around the place. Gunwalker will spot it, so he knows exactly what's coming. Unfortunately, I can't quite leave my base in this particular match, so I'm going to be forced to use this to try and get some DPS on these Seekers, or at least slow them down a little bit. As marked up Kane, you've got the advantage of awakened squads, which means you can sell buildings off, like Shredder turrets, get one of these squad members and just throw the EMP at the enemy forces, which will lock them down. If you guys are playing the vanilla game 1.02, then there is a bug with the awakened EMP. You want to be playing R19 1.02 plus. Since the EMP is more reliable, there will not be any such bugs with that. So this is a pretty frantic hold against these Seekers. 2 Scorpion tanks, so that's the kind of advantage of playing Mark Kane. Before, it was really the Black Hand that had the edge in this stage of the game, because they could sell off base defenses and get those Confessor Cabals, which had amazing DPS. My Reckoner does finally get to this tip spike. I'm going to go ahead and reclaim that for myself. So I'm going to enjoy a nice 3 spike advantage in this game. My opponent down to just the 1. I intend to counterattack him. Even if this achieves nothing, I do it nonetheless, just to force my opponent to panic and delay his macro. Otherwise it will snowball even further for him. If I can delay that tier 3 of his by even just a couple of seconds, it is worth it. I've also got these awakened on the front line, which I can use to kill these disintegrators and also disable that photon cannon, which is a real damage dealer against Scorps. 4 Scorpion tanks out for me. I didn't decide to invest into the Dozer Blades with so many Scorps, so little Scorps. I'm going for stealth tanks now. As you can see, I've got one out, two in fact, and sending those across the map. I'm against Skrin, so these generally aren't particularly good, but I'm thinking with these Scorpion tanks, he may think I'm going into mass Scorps, and Seekers don't really kill mass Scorp anymore. So this was my strategy, to force him to go into tripods, or even better, Mecha P's. Little bit of a DC error there, probably on my part because of my very unreliable internet connection. Got a Commando and a Reckoner. I decided not to stealth it. Of course, I'm pretty low on funds, so you know, spending $3,000 on a cloaking field to just cloak that, even though it could be worth it, probably not gonna be paying off for me. So I've got this stealth tank just crushing these harvesters, because of course he is very much focused on this Commando here. Commando in that Reckoner. I'm going to be forced to evac that out. This Commando is just going to go ahead and try and bomb this tier 3. He can use the Buzzer Storm support power, but he's very busy dealing with those stealth tanks. There's a Commando there. But his thing is, he has to get like $1,500 of resources. Puts the Buzzer Hive in front of the Commando. That's something you don't want to do. Commando literally playing with fire here. Does get himself killed, or itself. He's technically, we don't know what the Commando is, but yeah, this avatar is going to go ahead and grab this beam cannon. That's some mechanic that I love about Kane's Wrath. You can just go ahead and you know, just literally take apart one of your units and equip a weapon to your avatar. Scorpion tank still alive. I'm just patrolling the tip fields so he isn't harvesting any blue Tiberium, because it's hard to get damage dealt once your opponent is fortified in his base with tripods and shard seekers, even charged up dev tanks in the middle of the map. Those Scorp tanks will be shredded, but more or less this stuff is just to distract my opponent. I said in my previous video that it would be maybe a good idea to call in the decoy army on these stealth tanks or any such unit, just so it forces the storm column to shoot the decoy, or even tripods. You can maybe bait your opponent to go ahead and chase a fake unit, because stealth tanks are very devastating. Now, because this avatar is stealth, these units can't see it. Avatars do crush dev tanks. I'm going to go ahead and get myself 3 crushes there on those decks. I could have stopped and shoot, but I would take damage. And I want to keep this avatar at full health, because I don't want to go back to the war factory. I need to keep up the pressure, especially considering how I am pretty low on funds still. My opponent has harvested more than me. He's also been able to reclaim that spike from me. I've got a Vertigo bomber out, and my plan here was to just build it for the disruption pod ability, because in R19 these pods are 4 minutes now. It was 2 minutes before, now it is 4 minutes. The duration at which these pods last is now 4 minutes. That's a considerable length of time. That's double than it was before. And this Commando, right, she was stealthed with a disruption tower. Now, I didn't really have to stealth it, but I needed to move into range of that Commando just to kill it. So I put a disruption tower down, and I used that to conceal my Commando while it just sniped that Prodigy. Now, the thing is, it also stealths while standing still. That's another advantage of the Skrin Commando, of the not Commando. I've now got 4 Vertigo bombers out. Now, there is something really sick about these Vertigos, which I'm going to fix in my next 4K update, or even R20. And that is the rear gun on it. It doesn't show on the main model of the Vertigo, but I found that the stealth model has it. I'm probably going to overlay in this video a picture of that rear gun turret. I will add it to the game, because it was forgot to be put in there by EA. Use the Tiber and Vein detonation there just to kill all those Seekers in the middle of the map. Those Vertigo bombers getting a nice shot on those harvesters. Tiberium Seed coming down. This tier 4 Tiberium chemical plant is a great thing to build in the late game for Nod. It gives them resources, plus it can also be a great way to harass your opponent. And there you can see there's the disruption pod once more. This has a Commando inside of it. It didn't cost me $3,000, only the $400 or whatever it is for the pod. I think it's $200 or 3, but yeah, it's more expensive than the GDI one. Commando unfortunately grabs that avatar of mine. I'm gonna have to build a couple Venoms to deal with that. Not used to facing infantry from the Scrin player. Scrin usually refrain from sending their commandos out in the field, especially against Marked of Kane, because there is always a danger of losing your commando to these Venoms with supercharged particle beams. I've got these Vertigos just looking for a target to set my sights on. There's also a commando in that Reckoner. I'm hoping to hit him from 2 sides. This commando is completely concealed here. You can see she is in that Reckoner. Can't see anything. I'll go ahead and bomb that. Back into that stealth Reckoner. And then I'm going to just go ahead and bomb this tech as well. That's basically a guaranteed kill because she's literally right next to it. Seekers and Gunwalkers do intercept. Maybe Rex caught wind of the Reckoner at some point, so he knew. Players do get commando alerts even when the commando is inside of a garrison like a Reckoner. That's a little bit unfortunate, but I guess for balance reasons it is so. Or it could be just an oversight from the developers. Lots of enlightened out for me now as well. Tripods for Rex, Gunwalkers, Tripods and Seekers. This is still going to be a tough fight for me. I need to use these Vertigo bombers to great effect. Need to get them out once more for another bombing run. I've actually lost 3 of them. So yeah, when the Scrin player gets those shards online and those shard Seekers built, it's hard to make these strategies work with Mock, because Mock have a lot of strategies which involve stealth units like stealth tanks and Vertigos, but the Scrim player will just spam Seekers ultimately and shut most of it down. But that to Commando with Disruption Pod definitely did work out for me. That was a rare tactic. You don't see that too often. And it's a cost-effective thing to do in R19 now. As long as you make use of the Vertigos. The thing is, it's only cheaper if you can get value out of the Vertigo bombers, and that's a different matter entirely. As you saw, I lost a couple, didn't really kill as much as I would have liked, but if I had maybe killed 1 or 2 extra tripods with those Vertigo bombers, then the value proposition is much higher. Nonetheless, that's going to be GG. These EMPs went down. No real way of stopping that. He was delayed for quite a bit with that tech snipe, so he couldn't have built Devastator warships in that time. And that's going to be GG. So that's going to be the first game that I wanted to highlight. And I've got another one, guys, so don't leave. I've got one more game, so stay tuned. Let's go on to that one. Alright guys, we are back to game number 2, which takes us to Tournament LA. And once again, I'm going to be playing as the Nod faction here against Phoenix. So this game here was rather fun. You're going to see a couple unique ideas and strats which I could potentially do in the future. So let us get on with this match here. This map had several comments in the C&C Online Discord that the terrain tiles don't load correctly when the terrain texture setting is set to very low. You got to make sure that your graphic setting is set to at least medium when playing the R19 maps, or you will get issues with textures. Because these were replaced textures from Red Alert 3 on this map. There's a lot of models as well that is from that game and C&C3. Now this was modeled on Small Town USA. It was supposed to be a bit like Small Town USA. I want to see more blue zone maps in the future. With Desolator making all those new maps, they're all on. I don't want to say unfortunately, but they're all red zone maps and a bit too dark in my opinion. It's sometimes quite hard to see on them. I did complain and make him change the lighting, because if you wanted them to be suitable for competitive play, then you want to make sure that the contrast is pretty high and it's bright enough to see your units clearly, because I don't want to force my graphics down a notch. The post effects is fine, but the brightness of the map is leaves a lot to be desired. Besides, I think the blue zone maps are more, you know, they have more details on them typically with, you know, a less destroyed planet Earth. Everything is a bit more intact. But I understand that a lot of C&C fans prefer the red zone maps because it's more in tune with the Tiberium universe. It's more post-apocalyptic. Whereas not all regions of the planet were infested with Tiberium, even though there's some blue tip on this map. I'm not even sure if blue tip existed in blue zone territories. I think that was only in the yellow or the red zone maps that was a thing. That's why red zone Rampage has blue Tiberium. Harvested there. Going to take some tip. Going to harvest this Tiberium. Now I did go for a couple Scorpion tanks and a barracks. I placed the barracks a little bit forward so that I can pump some rockets out. Now, unfortunately for me, there's the garrison building there in the middle. I'm going to have to clear that one out because I intend to garrison some of these middle structures with rocket squads. I built a tier 2 to take up once again to that tech center for those stealth tanks, but instead of just taking straight up to tier 3, I built a barracks to build a couple infantry and garrison this map before I build stealth tanks, because if I can fill the middle with rockets in these buildings, that's going to make it really difficult for him to counter-attack me. It's going to make it very difficult for him to kill me before I get the stealth tanks out. As you can see, I already start to research the Tiberium core missiles, and I'm just examining this map here to see what I can do. I've got this harvester, thinking of taking blue tip, but the regrowth on that is pretty slow. I decided instead to send it to my natural expansion. This is not really an all-in. This is just a one base stealth tank strat. I go for a tier 4 because I was thinking maybe he's going to War Factory, maybe he's spamming Pipples, so maybe I need to go for a Tiberium Vein detonation, force his army onto a tib field, use that tib vein. That was what my thinking in this point in time. I spot the tier 2, I saw the Orca strike, so I know for sure that there's hammerheads or orcas in the way. He's actually building orcas, so it's like he knew already that I was doing this without even scouting. So he's got the perfect counter to what I'm doing already. And I decided to just throw in this there. And I just about not kill that harvester. It survived the stealth tank and the catalyst missile. So yeah, that harvester getting away pretty scot-free. I was a bit frustrated at that, so I decided to use the Tiberium Vein detonation. I do finish it off. Orca gets destroyed. I did kill one of the harvesters. I need to kill at least one more for this attack to be somewhat worth it. But yeah, these Pipples are hunting me down. He actually pulled back there, which was nice. My stealth tank's going to get away. I can even use the decoy army here if I want. But my field is starting to run dry. I used the Tiberium seed, which will get me more resources than what I paid for the chemical plant. Harvester taking some blue tip, which is nice. He's very busy dealing with that attack in his base with that stealth tank. He's trying to hunt stealth tanks, so it's a perfect time for me to go ahead and grab some of that blue tip for my own. I'm not really committing my forces. I'm just keeping the middle of the map scouted while I recover and get my eco up. I'm on tier 3 and I'm now building avatars. I'm going to equip this avatar with a beam cannon. As you guys have seen in my couple past videos, I love to equip avatars with that second beam. It's just so much better in Kane's where I have to do that. In fact, they almost feel like a completely different unit. People sometimes ask, is it a bug, Leaf? Is it a bug? No, it's just a feature. People were very lazy and they don't upgrade their avatars with second beam cannon. Once again, this stealth tank out. I need to be sure that I don't go over trees or fences, because that will crush the trees and fences. And it will, your opponent will see that from happening. Orcas probably littering the map with these sensor pods. You can see he just put down a sensor pod. Phoenix is one of the smarter players in this game. He uses all tools available to him. He's got sensor pods all over this map. I can clear them out if I build a Venom, but if he places one, for example, on a refinery, then that's going to be pretty much glued to the refinery until it's destroyed. It's going to last 4 minutes, that pod. Orcas decide to pull back there. So he's got those Orcas. I'm just chilling for now. I get that supercharged particle beam because I want to go into Venoms relatively soon to deal with these Orcas. Because I think the Orcas cost effectively kill stealth tanks. No quad turrets for me. I don't really need them just yet, but I can upgrade those if I need them. Air tower comes down and I fully expect myself to build Venoms at this point. Okay, I guess not. I'm going for Vertigos. Those also have that rear gun on them, so I put a lot of value on that rear gun. In fact, I think in R20 the rear gun should get like a 25% damage increase, so we see that more of a thing. I wouldn't mind if Vertigos had slightly better anti-air capability. When I fix the model of the rear anti-air turret, I will buff it a little bit at the same time. I think that would be a great thing for Kane's Wrath. But that's probably going to be next year. R19 has just came out, so any changes that will be made will be next year. I'm building a list slowly of the things I want to do, but it's going to take a while for that list to be completed. I've got 2 dual beam avatars though in the middle of this map. That's a crazy amount of firepower. These Pred tanks stand no chance against those dual beam avatars. Harvest is going to the middle of that map. Gets detected by a minefield. He actually put a couple mines down there. I guess that's one way of clearing them, just running over them. Harvesters, though, they don't really concern me that much when they get damaged because they are stealth, the nod ones. That's definitely a refinery placement of my quality there. He puts the refinery in a very precarious position. But his expansion is way ahead of mine, way ahead. The thing is though, I've been on tier 3 since the beginning of this game, so instead of investing my resources into low-tech units, I've been going into stealth tanks with tip core. I've been making avatars with 2 beam cannons, with 1 beam cannon attached to it, so that means that my units, cost per cost, have been more cost effective, which means my expansion tip field may even outlast his second field because of just how much better my tech units are compared to his lowly tier units. He does have a Marv, however, so that means he's on tier 3. He's camping my tier field. That I have known for a while. Vertigo's once more out for another bombing run. I'm going for these Enlightened now, and I'm queuing a Voice of Kane statue because that increases the rate of fire on the Enlightened by 25%. Not sure why that Vertigo didn't drop his bomb, but I'm harassing his Harvesters here with these Vertigos. There's a Firehawk there, which will nail one of the Vertigos, but I did kill 3 Harvesters for 1 Vertigo bomber. That's not too bad. And they've got these Venoms as well, which can kill Firehawks, right? Not the Zircon ones, but I actually think that the regular like mock Venoms can kill Firehawks pretty effectively with that supercharged particle beam upgrade. I see the Orcas. I'm going to go ahead and quickly snipe those ones down while avoiding this Firehawk. In fact, I quickly set my sights on this Firehawk here because it is lifting up and they don't shoot while in that state. This is a little bit awkward. Not sure what was happening here. They just kind of went off the map and yeah, very messy this, but I think I will get a secondary Firehawk. This Marv is just Marvis in that tier field. I need to stop him from taking my expansion because he's got here an expansion of his own, plus that Marv is assisting him in that other field. Dual beam avatar though will get some more damage dealt on those Harvesters. He's also got sniper teams about to kill my Enlightened avatar, getting low on health. I decided to pull that one back. Now what I could have done here was cloaking fielded those snipers, but I got the Venoms to kill those snipers, and if I didn't have those there, then yeah, of course these Enlightened would have fell incredibly quickly. All of those sniper teams do fall. I lost a considerable amount of my enlightened, which was unfortunate, but the Marv does fall, and that was good. His expansion has also been pretty much bled dry. He doesn't have many harvests left on that tip field. My expansion is being established. Now, I didn't move my MCV to the third field, but I'm going to have to be forced to place my refinery very far away from my tip field. So yeah, I kind of set a worst example on ref placement. I just cleaned up that orchid there so I can get my stealth tank in here. I need to be very careful that I don't run into the tip field, the sonic emitter. So that is that. Very micro-intensive unit, stealth tank. And I know he's dropped sensor pods all over this field. He's also pretty desperate here. Using the Orca Strike, the beacon is there for me to know that there is an Orca Strike coming in. And these hammerheads are just easy pickings. Vertigo's out now for me. He has these to deal with. I decide to go ahead and bomb the harvester in the refinery. It will damage the ref as well. One of the harvesters falls. And I just did hear the sensor pod come down. I can hear the deployment sound, which is nice. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not, but it is a thing. A lot of micro in this game with stealth tanks. This is why I like this fast tech stealth tank strategy a lot. I tried to force fire the tip field to kill the sensor pod on it, but I don't think it actually did that. Tungsten shells is online, so yeah, these venoms are pretty much toast at this point. That one singular AA battery is enough to kill those units. I finally get down and a refinery on that expansion. No epic unit just yet for me, though I do have a dual beam avatar guarding my expansion tip field against any Pipple attacks. But of course I feel like his Pipples would be trying to kill the stealth tank if he had them, so I'm not too concerned about that at this point. I go ahead and build a Redeemer engineering facility now because I need something with a bit more armor to go out on this map and just solidify my lead that I have as far as units goes. He does have a eco advantage still, I think, but I have better units out on this map. That tech center is poised to go down. If I had a chemical plant, I could summon in a Tiberium Vapor Bomb. I could put the chemical plant on the right hand side of the map and have the Armageddon bomber spawn from the bottom of the map, and it would just arrive there in no time. I could only have to damage it slightly with my stealth tank. Laser fences don't protect structures nearly as much as they used to. So this stealth tank still out and about, still causing problems. He's feeding aircraft to me now. And I think this goes to show the amount of mileage you can get out of stealth tanks when you control them so vigorously like that. I imagine if your multitasking skills are really good, you can do a lot with stealth tanks. As long as they don't reverse move bug, which is always a possibility in Kane's Wrath. But I've read that if you reverse move directly behind the unit, if you click directly behind the stealth tank when reverse moving, there is no chance of reverse move bugs from happening, but it's a very tedious chore to always do that with your stealth tank. He's still building hammerheads, which is really not the thing you should be building against these stealth tanks. Bloodhounds as well, because I guess he's pretty desperate. I put the on aggressive stance so I can maybe kill another one of these units. So this stealth tank has promoted to veteran. He's not too far away from going elite with all of those firehawks that went down before. I've got these enlightened here in case I need them, but I don't think I do because there's just 4 avatars there. He has no real armor to contend with it. One hammerhead is all he has left. I'm actually queuing in venoms because there's only infantry and aircraft that this force is vulnerable to. I'm building a counter to both. That's a nice thing about venoms with Mark of Kane. That's the thing about Blackhand that you sometimes lack, but I feel like flame tanks is the way to go with Black Hand. Rather than Venoms, you just build flame tanks, more thematic as well. Stealth tank goes heroic in the process, killing those Firehawks on the deck, and that's another example of fast tech stealth tanks on Tournament LA. So yeah guys, hope you all enjoyed those 2 games where I wanted to highlight this strategy with the 1 base stealth tank. I feel like it's a pretty viable strategy, maybe once every 20 games or so when your opponent doesn't expect it. But if of course if your opponent goes for 2 War Factory Pit Bulls in the start, then it's going to have a tough time working. May work if you go for a beam cannon avatar first before building any stealth tanks, but yeah, you have flexibility, I think, as the mock player. You can even just build a couple tib troopers and go for a shrine instead of a tier 3. If you see he's building 2 war factories instead, go for a lot of enlightened tib troopers and use them to kill the pit bulls before then expanding and going for tech. So yeah, you just have to scout and you can adapt to what your opponent does. So yeah guys, I want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and if you did, then don't forget to hit the smash the like button and comment down below if you have anything to say. I do appreciate your feedback, and I would finally like to give a big thank you to all of my patrons who have been supporting me on my Patreon for all of this time. So I think I'll conclude it here. So I want to thank you all very much for watching, and this is me, Master Leaf. Peace out.